Armored cars, once a military and law enforcement specialty, are now cruising the American highway, and their owners are paying big money for the same protective gear that banks, police, and the armed forces rely on. In a new feature, the New York Times reports that companies like ArmorMax are retrofitting civilian vehicles with bullet-resistant armor, blast-proof windows, and other hardtech that used to be the domain of heavily armed convoy units. The result? Executives, celebrities, and high-risk travelers can seem to have a protected convoy under a steel-roofed roof without the need for a full security detail. The trend is driven by a mix of increased crime, privacy concerns, and the glamour of bulletproof status. According to the report, an average armored car costs a lot more than regular luxury vehicle upgrades. A modest example might be a $100,000 premium versus a $60,000 sedan. Yet buyers argue the expense is worth it to block not just the threat of gunfire, but the echo of past confrontations, like when Mark Burton, a well-known tech executive who once was a victim of a kidnapping attempt in Amsterdam, demanded more than a sedan's rubber-slick grip on the road. ArmorMax's work illustrates how these upgrades are built. Workers in their factory surround the car's cockpit with layers of steel and ballistic glass. The exterior is treated to withstand not lecturer clothing or just mild hits, but hardened shells, think 7.62 mm rounds, sometimes even higher caliber attacks. Inside, seats are reinforced, power windows have dual sensor locks, and the steering system can be hardwired to emergency jammers. Inside the cabin, the safety features you might compare to a bank vault: radiation shielding for confidential meetings, cordless phone lines that squeal, and GPS grab sensors that alert House of Hessian security fencing. Why is the demand high? It's partly a reaction to the rise in the high-risk person in, think wealthy tech founders, politicians, high-profile entrepreneurs, all of whom can become quiet targets. Such individuals have self-secured the cars they drive, taking a preemptive approach to their own safety. It's also a cultural thing. The bulletproof styling has become a status symbol among the elite, similar to supercars as a visual marker of wealth. The Times notes that these cars have indirectly changed the way law enforcement deals affiliation with targeted executives. Police agencies now see armored vehicles at the back of a major transit or event, and they have to coordinate with commercial companies that produce them, as all of the armor gear is proprietary. The industry fosters an ecosystem. Manufacturers, workers, and dealers all know that they are turning black box car bodies into a laboratory used to test new armor materials. The result is an industry that has a wider regulatory environment than the typical auto shop, largely due to the fact that the vehicles must pass both DOT and various ballistics certification. One of the more surreal aspects that the Times highlights is that many of these private buyers simply ignore the fact that some might call their cars real armored vehicle, while the only threat they ever need to withstand is a parking lot skateboard. The presence of the armor itself is a psychological keyword, like a psychological toll that says, "You can't reach me, I have no head for the first rung of crimes." In essence, you're buying a clearance. It's a way of protecting the head of the company from being physically endangered, while at the same time, the car stands like a steel storybook of our times. To sum up, armored cars have gone from being a cool, military/government niche to an everyday safety recital for a small cluster of high-net-worth people. The combination of long car road trips, acquiring ball-boring insurance, and a sense of self-imperviousness are making highways into an armored dream world. Every brand, every price tag says that you've got a step that literally changes the apron usage of the highway and car. The Times reminds that this trend of immobilized photoshoots shows a dark reflection of who wants to be protected and who is ready to spend to ensure it. That's the take from the Times piece. Thanks for tuning in to hear about armored cars on the American road. Stay safe, stay informed, good night.